I go Willie B, back in victory lane, baby. William Byron, back in victory lane, and we're back on the money stop. He's Cole Cusumano. I'm the little bro, Steven Cusumano. And man, has it been a long time coming for William Byron. Finally back in victory lane at the Iowa Corn 350. Fantastic. Eating a corn cob in victory lane. It was literally just a matter of time, Cole. And this was another money stop masterclass. We had ourselves quite the week. This was like one of the only weeks the entire season where we did not pick William Byron. But I think that's a thing of the past now because he's back in victory lane.
Yeah, it's definitely a conversation that has to be had now about William Byron. This is also the second straight week we did not pick winners in back-to-back episodes, which is pretty interesting. But within that, we did highlight 4 of the top 5 finishers once again. We highlighted 6 of the top 10 finishers. And what's really important to note here about those 6 drivers inside the top 10 is that only one of them in Ryan Blaney was a favorite. The other 5 were values and sleepers. There was a lot of money to be made there if you were putting down your prop value bets for top 5 or top 10 props. We also highlighted 9 of the top 15 drivers. And once again, the only 3 outliers were 3 favorites in Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, and Christopher Bell. So further evidence here that you should be tailing us, especially when we talk sleepers and value picks. That's where the most of your money can be made on any given week. And I think that is a great segue into Watkins Glen because as we'll get to here in a second with the top 5 shortest and odds for the race win, the value this weekend is off the charts outside of your heavy favorite in SVG for good reason, obviously. But, you know, we make these shows every week in highlighting the best values in the field. We get these shows out there a couple days in advance from practice and qualifying with the intention of you maximizing those values in the field. And I would argue at this point in the season, what's upcoming is now race 26. There has been no more important episode to tail us than this one here for Watkins Glen.
Yeah, we've killed it on the street courses, the road courses, whatever you want to call them. Every single time we have nailed it. And SVG is at the top of our list again this week, just like Vegas. You know, I can't remember exactly what we said, Cole, as we preview the road ahead. We are going to give you our favorites, our sleepers, our best prop bets. So stay tuned for all that. Anyway, back to what I just cut myself off from saying. It was along the lines of, I don't know what we said SVG would open the sports books at following the last road course, but man, I got a car in my head. There we go. I don't remember what we said, but this week, SVG is opening the odds books at plus 125. I'm a little surprised he's not, that he's over even money, but man, plus 125 is as good of a favorite as you'll ever find in NASCAR. So he is the heavy favorite. And a little bit of a surprise to me, there is a steep drop off to number 2. Connor Zilisch is plus 550 for the race win this week. And again, very inexperienced, but that tells you something about the talent that is Connor Zilisch. But then it gets a little bit more even when you get to Christopher Bell at plus 900, Kyle Larson at plus 1,000, Tyler Reddick at plus 1,600, Cole. So after we recap our successes from Iowa, there's a lot of things to unpack there with the pre-qualifying odds going into Watkins Glen, but I think that we, coming out of the last race at Mexico City and everywhere else that SVG has won, we were saying next time we go to a road course, don't even think about anybody other than SVG, and that's why he's plus 125 this week.
Yeah, it goes without saying at this point, he's won 3 consecutive road course races in the Cup Series out of 4 this season. Lowest finish was 6th back at COTA. And yeah, at this point in the 2025 season, in SVG's young rookie career, there is no reason to go against him as for a race winner. And that's pretty much all where his value is this week, is for a race winner. Plus 125, extremely heavy favorite for great reason, as just mentioned. And he's a very steep, almost impossible to get into your lineup, $12,700 in daily fantasy. But why is that? Once again, won the last 3 road course races, also at 206 laps led in that span. And in his young Cup career at road courses, 4 wins, 1 runner-up. That makes up half his 10 starts, posting an 8.9 average and 247 laps led, both series best marks in that regard. As far as Watkins Glen goes, we saw last year that he is indeed somehow mortal and able to be beaten, because Chris Buescher came back, rubbed doors, rubbed bumpers, and handed SVG a runner-up finish. That was the one runner-up finish in his career in the Cup Series on road courses. But while this feels like a trap bet, we said last road course we were at Sonoma, we were like, you know what? Mexico City and Chicago, those were kind of givens because they were relatively unknown. Sonoma, they've been going there for many, many years. You'd think that the margin there would be much more tightened. Well, that was not the case. SVG led all but 13 laps at Sonoma and just gave the entire field an ass whooping. So I'm not going to be fooled again. If you're going to bet SVG, you're going to bet him for the race win. Plus 125, simple as that. What I will say is where you can really make a lot of profit and turn that plus 125 into some really good gains is you can parlay him to win both Watkins Glen in the Cup Series and in the Nationwide Series, or the now Xfinity Series. Sorry.
Nice.
Showing my age there.
Your Gen X is showing. Or Gen Z, whatever.
Whereas you were surprised he was above even payout in the Cup Series, he is a ridiculously heavy favorite at minus 200 in the Xfinity Series. But if you were to parlay his Xfinity Series win odds and Cup Series win odds, it comes out to plus 298. You throw $20 down, you can get $79 back and some change. You can also parlay SVG to win the Cup Series and parlay Connor Zilisch to win in the Xfinity Series. That would come out to plus 395. $20 gets you $99 even. So there is money to be made with SVG. I think he is the surest bet all around for a race winner, and that's where, again, his value is going to be this weekend. But I think his next best opponent as far as favorites go, it has to be Chase Elliott, in my opinion. Plus 1,600 as the tied for Tyler Reddick for fifth shortest odds for the race win, and a really favorable $9,100 daily fantasy. As Chase Elliott, back-to-back top 15s. He's kind of fallen off since his really remarkable run with these top 5 finishes, but he still has the best average finish in the series at 10.3. He is now second in points, 18 points back from his teammate William Byron for the lead. And Watkins Glen, whenever we go here, I think of Chase Elliott. Site of his first win. It's a 2-time winner here, and he has 4 top 5s at this upstate New York track. However, only one of those top 5s has come in the next-gen era. He actually finished 19th here last year. But this season, he has 3 top 5s in 4 road course starts. He finished 3rd in the last road course race at Sonoma. And he has the lowest finish of 16th, which once again points to his really high floor overall in 2025. But in regards to road courses, 9.8 average, 147 laps led, both are 3rd best overall in the series in 20 road course starts. Oh, and by the way, he is a 7-time road course winner, still seeking that first in the Gen 7 era. So I think, to put it simply, SVG is your hands-down heavy favorite for the race win, and Chase Elliott could very well be the next man up as far as favorites go.
Yeah, it's conflicting, Cole, because on one hand, again, we're saying SVG, no doubt about it. And first of all, I do love your idea of parlaying an SVG winner pick in both series or an SVG winner and Connor Zilisch pick in the lower series, an Xfinity series. So I love the idea of that to start with. But on another hand, look at what happened to us last week. We picked 6 of the top 10 drivers, and we picked 9 of the top 14. However, our favorites category last week got busted. Our only 3 busts of the entire week, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, all finished outside the top 20. So, or outside the top 15. So it's a week we're coming off of where our only bad calls were the favorites. And like you said, things have gone so well for SVG. It just kind of feels like that something at some point is going to have to go against their direction. And I don't think it's going to be this week. I'm not going to be caught sleeping. SVG is plus 125 and 12,700 for daily fantasy. That is money worth buying into, but I like your idea of parlaying that with another result. So as those are your 2 favorites, I'm going to give you a couple that are coming off of some not so great results, and that is Tyler Reddick, who is coming off his 3rd straight finish outside the top 10. And he's a favorite for me this week because we know that the potential is in there. We've seen Tyler Reddick at his best. That has not obviously been this year. However, his best stretch of the year came at the road courses. He finished 2nd at our last one at Sonoma, and he finished 3rd at Chicago. So he had back-to-back top 10s at Sonoma and at Chicago, and he has finished 3rd twice at road courses in 2025, the other being Coda. So Tyler Reddick has had a read on the road courses the entire next-gen era, especially this year. He's a 3-time next-gen road course winner, It's crazy to me that he still has not been in victory lane this year. I think it's going to happen, and I think it's going to happen at a road course. And Tyler Reddick at road courses in the next gen has the fourth best average finish in the field of 10.6. He has the second most laps led at 206, and he has 15 top 10s out of 21 starts at the road courses in this next gen car. He also has 2 top 10s at Watkins Glen with his career best finish of 7th coming here. And he finished 2024 outside the top 25 here. So a fluky result. But I think you look at Tyler Reddick's body of work at the road courses in his career, and especially in this next gen era, I think that team knows that, yes, the points are looking good for them at this juncture of the season, but those points all go to waste once the playoffs begin, and you need those bonus points to be racked up. And this is as good a chance as they're going to have for a race win at plus 1,600 and 8,800 in daily fantasy. This is definitely go time for Tyler Reddick and the 45 team. And I want to say the same in some ways about Christopher Bell, who's my other favorite for the race win. He's plus 900 inside Vegas's top 5 this week, 9,800 in daily fantasy. He's coming off the 17th place finish at Iowa after making some contact with Chase Briscoe. And I mentioned the fact that Seabell was one of our picks that busted last week. And obviously that was a little bit of a fluky result because prior to making that contact with Briscoe, he was running top 10 for pretty much the entire race. He also finished 8th at Indy, and he spun from the lead at Dover, remember? So I think that this is a string of results the last 3 weeks that has not nearly indicated how well that 20 team has been running because they've been one of the top 5, top 10 cars in the field over these last 3 weeks. And obviously, he won the first road course race of the season. He also has top 5s at 3 different Sonoma races, at 3 different road courses this year, I should say, with a 5th place at Sonoma. So he's kind of that next best of the road course bunch, 5th best average finish at road courses this year of 11.9 in the next gen, and 12 top 10s and 21 starts at the road courses in his career. He also has top 10s 2 different times at Watkins Glen in the next gen car and a career best finish of 3rd here 2 years ago. He also finished 14th here last year. So I feel that for Tyler Reddick and Christopher Bell, it's almost like these are 2 under the radar favorites picks. And I think that the 2 favorites you selected in SVG and in Chase Elliott are like the heavy, heavy favorites. This is almost a week where I feel like there's a drop down before that next tier of favorites. So it's like 2 favorites tiers where these 2 guys have not had the best results recently, but you look at their body of work at the road courses in the next gen, and even the past several weeks kind of leading up to what could be a breakout stretch coming. And I like what I'm seeing from Tyler Reddick and Christopher Bell going into this week as 2 favorites that are maybe just a peg below SVG and Chase Elliott.
I love both those Toyota picks. I might even like them both better than Chase Elliott, to be quite honest with you, just because their road course pedigree with this current car, I think, is a little bit better than Chase Elliott's as a whole. But I think what you said last week resonated with me, and that is that we do not want to get caught sleeping when Christopher Bell breaks out because it's going to happen. And I think all the signs are pointing there right now, as you just alluded to with those results, fluky results at that. Last week with the Briscoe collision, obviously the spin from the lead at Dover and double overtime. So it's going to happen. It very well could happen once again right here at Watkins Glen for his first win here. And then Tyler Reddick, I know he's somehow still searching for that first win, but we've seen what this guy can do on the road courses in the next gen. 3 wins is tied for second most in the series. He had a top 5 here, top 3 actually, at a road course at Coda earlier this year. So I think both these Toyota drivers are primed for really, really strong days here at Watkins Glen. And what's really interesting here is that, we do all this talking saying that SVG is the heavy favorite. You shouldn't pick anybody else but him for the race win. But I really firmly believe that in addition to SVG, any of these 3 drivers we mentioned in the favorites category could win, as well as our upcoming drivers here in the sleepers category, as we've seen the last few weeks with Bubba Wallace and drivers like that who have won from that very bracket. So I think with that, let's kick things off here with sleepers, Steven. Sleepers, once again, are drivers with an outside chance at the win. And I think what's cool about this week, as we've illustrated from the top 5 shortest in odds for the race win, is that pretty much anybody that's like 4th shortest and lower in odds for the race win, it's going to be a really, really good value. And there's certain drivers that you just cannot go wrong with picking for sleepers for this race win at Watkins Glen. And the first name that comes to mind for me has to be the guy who won here last year in Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher, incredible value this weekend at plus 2,000. Really good value in daily fantasy as well at $9,000. And again, he showed last year that SVG is not invincible. He flat out beat him straight up for the race win on the final lap. But it wasn't just that. He led 19 laps in this race for his first ever road course win. And this was a long time coming for him too, because he is the only driver in the Cup Series with top threes in all three next-gen Watkins Glen starts, posting a 5.7 average finish. And on top of that, he's been one of the best drivers, like Tyler Reddick, on the road courses with this current car, with a 9.6 average, good enough for second best overall, with 15 top 10s and 21 next-gen road course starts. Also want to note here that he is only 23 points to the good for that third and final playoff spot left available. And for a guy who got it done here last year, for a team in RFK Racing that's had a lot of speed here as of late, where it needs to have it with the playoffs looming, I like Chris Buescher's odds this weekend quite a bit for any prop out there, whether it be a top 5, top 10, or even the race win.
Mm-hmm.
But another guy that I always think about when we go to the road courses, but especially Watkins Glen, is Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell, somehow shorter odds for the race win than Chris Buescher at plus 1,800, and a really good value in daily fantasy at $8,400. He has had 7 or more laps led in all 3 next-gen Watkins Glen starts, finishing top 10 there twice with a best finish of 6th. Now, his only outlier finish was an electrical issue after leading 17 laps this year, or last year winning stage 1 as well. So in the race where he had not finished top 10, he dominated stage 1, got the stage win, and just couldn't finish it off. And I think that's where the volatility falls into play with Michael McDowell, because I think even outside of Chase Elliott, you could even make the case for like Ty Gibbs. Michael McDowell has been SVG's worthiest opponent in terms of speed every time you go to the race at a road course. The only problem is that you don't know who's going to finish it off. Case in point was Chicago this year. He led 31 laps, and then he had a mechanical failure where he couldn't finish the race. But this season overall, top 5 twice in 4 starts this season. And then just overall, his career with this current car, 13.3 average, which points to the volatility a little bit. Got 1 win, 5th most laps led, 12 top 10s in 21 starts. Oh, and by the way, he's running double duty this weekend as well. So extra track time should bode very well for Michael McDowell, who has always had a lot of speed at Watkins Glen. I think this is by far and away his best shot at making the playoffs if he wants to get there in 2025. And I think given his extra track time, given how he's been this year and overall in his career on the road courses, should be a great bet all around for Watkins Glen.
I like what you said there about the fact speed-wise, Michael McDowell's probably been the biggest competition for SVG, but he hasn't been able to close out these races. But I feel like at some point he has to, right? Like you can't be that fast and that good every time we go to the road courses, and it's got to go right at least once. I feel like the law of averages has to come back around for Michael McDowell. And like you said, the sense of urgency is picked up every week that we get closer to the playoffs. So I like that idea of Michael McDowell as maybe a surprise winner. Like this is the time of year for some surprise winners. And we've seen it recent weeks, obviously not last week at Iowa with William Byron, but man, there's got to be one of those drivers that's hungry. Shoot, we almost saw it with Brad Keselowski last week. I mean, There have been several opportunities for hungry drivers just outside the cutoff line or right inside of it to win. And I think that when I look at our sleepers category, I'm looking at those hungry drivers like Chris Buescher and like Michael McDowell. And I want to mention 2 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyotas, starting with a guy you mentioned, Ty Gibbs, because we saw the signs of life finally for Ty Gibbs, where he had an 8th place average finish in 7 starts in a row. However, he's now had back-to-back finishes of 21st place. He's plus 1,800 for the race win this week and 8,700 in daily fantasy. I'm still in on Ty Gibbs because at the road courses this year, he has had 3 top 11 finishes at the road courses, including a career best second at Chicago, which is when we really started to see things ramp up for Ty Gibbs, started to see him get hot. And in his career, 8 top 10s in 18 road course starts, which an average finish of 15.3, above his career average. And he had a 5th place finish at Watkins Glen 2 years ago, and he has an Xfinity Series win here. So I think that this was a driver that was heating up over a long period of time. Again, this was, 7, 8 races. This was 7 races in a row, an average finish of 8th, which is really good. And I'm going to go with the last 2 weeks just outside the top 20 as the outlier. And I look at a track and I look at a style of track where he's raced above average his entire career, and the fact that he is still hot dating back 9 weeks. And I like the idea of Ty Gibbs as a sleeper and a very hungry driver near the back of the field. Another of those that maybe not as hungry as the 3 we've just mentioned, but a guy that I feel like could have so many more wins than what he does this year is Chase Briscoe, another Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota, the number 19, plus 2,500 for the race win, 8,500 in daily fantasy. Ignore the results of the past for Chase Briscoe. Like, again, I feel like we've said this a lot with Briscoe, kind of the comparison to Kyle Larson moving from Chip Ganassi to Hendrick Motorsports. Ignore the past results and embrace the present for Chase Briscoe, who finished second last week, which was his 3rd runner-up finish over the last 4 weeks. And that's what I mean when I say, man, he could have so many more wins than what he does. But it's not just the runner-ups. He's led laps in his last 5 starts for a total of 143. And on the season, he has a 13.7 average finish, which to me right now kind of feels like his floor, because as we approach the playoffs, that team has become one of the best in the sport. It's the expectations we all had for Chase Briscoe and the 19 team entering this season, but they're happening right now before our eyes. At the road courses in his career, the last 4 with the next gen in the road courses, he has 2 top 10s and an average finish of 11.5, which again has been above his career average. He finished second at Sonoma, which is his best career road course finish. And his next best finish was, of course, at Watkins Glen, where he finished 6th here a year ago. So to me, this feels like the perfect storm for Chase Briscoe. There's every year in every sport, whether it's NFL, baseball, whether it's NBA, NASCAR, hockey, there's the destiny team that gets hot at the right time every year. Right now, it feels like Chase Briscoe. I know it's a couple weeks to go until the playoffs, but man, you look at the speed they've had, the laps they've led, the results they've put up. Chase Briscoe is peaking at the perfect time. And we know that Joe Gibbs Racing has championship caliber speed and perennial race winning speed every single week at every single kind of track. You look at where he's at in his career, you look at where he's at in the season, and just stacking him up with the rest of the competition. That 19 team and Chase Briscoe have been one of the best in the garage every single week as of the last 5 to 10 weeks. And now we go to Watkins Glen. And listen, like there was a point not long ago, less than 5 years ago, where Chase Briscoe was money in the bank in the Xfinity Series going to road courses. And I think that now that we're getting to that point in the Cup Series, again, I still think there's a very heavy drop-off after the guys like SVG and Chase Elliott and even Christopher Bell and Tyler Reddick. However, if you're going outside that top 4 in our favorites, I don't think there's a better sleeper in this category than probably Chase Briscoe. Again, the results haven't been there his whole career, but I love what I'm seeing from that team right now. I think that he and Michael McDowell are kind of in a league of their own when it comes to this particular sleepers category.
Yeah, you smell that? I smell a sweep. Call my shot right now. All 4 of these sleepers, Michael McDowell, Ty Gibbs, Chris Buescher, and Chase Briscoe, we will finish top 10 on Sunday at the Glen.
Wow.
Right now. I love this category. I think it is stout. I think it's stacked. You got last year's race winner in Chase Briscoe, Chris Buescher. Jesus Christ. And Chris Buescher, who won this race and has been rock steady on the road courses. You got Michael McDowell and Ty Gibbs, who we both said have been SVG's biggest rival in terms of speed on these tracks in 2025. And then you've got Chase Briscoe, who has been lights out the last 2 months, basically, winning every single pole, leading laps, finishing runner-up. He has just been absolutely insane. So I love this section. I'm fired up for the Glen. And, yeah, I'm calling my shot right now. Sweep all 4 drivers, top 10 this week. Book it. It's
the go bowling at the Glen, but you know what we're going to do? We're going to go coaling at the Glen. He's calling his shot.
Oh!
Sleepers are sweeping the week. We're going coaling at the Glen 350. I love this episode, not just that category. I love this episode because as we discussed how heavy a favorite Shane Van Gisbergen is this week, because he's such a heavy favorite, there is such incredible value to be discovered this week. And that kind of started with like the rest of the favorites. Like when you're talking about our favorites, guys like Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott at plus 1,600, the value starts there. And then we just mentioned all those sleepers who we think have a really good shot at the win. Man, there's really good value this week. And extending beyond our favorites and our sleepers, our value picks. These are our absolute favorite, juiciest values of the week, Cole. And this is a week for value picks where there are some names that you don't think of as value picks, former champions, former race winners, guys you would not expect to be values. But because of where we're at with SVG just absolutely dominating the road courses, there's some excellent values this week.
Yeah. There's two in mind that I have right now. The first one has to be our perennial value pick in Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece plus 6,000 for the race win and $7,600 daily fantasy. He is now riding back-to-back top fives in the Cup Series for the first time ever. That is also his 10th top 10 this season. And to put in perspective how good that is more top 10s than Tyler Reddick, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski. So he has been incredible this season, and that's as a whole. He has a 16th place average finish through 23 starts. Top 15 his last 3 road course starts, and as a matter of fact as well. He also finished 7th at Chicago, so he has a top 10 in there as well on these tracks. And also want to note once again, Chris Buescher's win last year at the Glen points to that this stable has speed on the road courses, especially when you look at what the 17 team has been able to do. But it's not just him. Brad Keselowski finished top 15 a couple times between Sonoma and Mexico City. And Ryan Preece last year at Watkins Glen finished 9th place. That wasn't obviously for RFK, but it speaks to what he was able to do at Watkins Glen in different equipment. And now being in better equipment from SHR now to RFK, that should speak volumes as to why he's a really good value this weekend. He finished 17th in 2023. Not reading too much into that, but he's a guy that's chasing his teammate Chris Buescher for a playoff spot. 23 points out in 17th. So he can point his way in, but I'm thinking this is a team that wants to win their way into the postseason. Am I ready to say it's Watkins Glen? Not quite, but stranger things have happened before. You've got, obviously, Daytona coming up. They've had a really good speedway program this season. And then, obviously, next week, we've got Richmond, a short track, and we know his pedigree on those disciplines. So is he going to win the race? I don't know. It's possible. I doubt it. But I'm more so looking at Ryan Preece as a great value in daily fantasy and as somebody that could finish top 10 once again for a second straight year and pick up his 3rd straight top 10 at that in 2025.
And Cole, I like what you said. I can't remember when you said this. It might have been on SpeedFreaks, but a playoffs without Ryan Preece just doesn't feel right. Like that has been such an unbelievable team this year. It's been one of the best cars. In my opinion, that team has been, I would say, the biggest surprise of the season. I don't know that there's been a team that has pleasantly surprised me as much as they have. And a playoffs without the 60 team, in my opinion, would not feel right. And I like the way these tracks line up for him. I think you hit it right on the head. And listen, he's been one of my favorite drivers on this podcast all year long. I think he's been a breakout star in a year that's been down for RFK. That team's been up, and I like the direction the arrow's pointing, especially going into this week.
I couldn't agree more. A playoffs without Ryan Preece just feels invalid. It's as simple as that. And it's not a stretch to say that he has been the best driver in that 3-car stable at this point.
Yeah.
As the 3rd team that was added this year. So
not a stretch at all.
Remarkable season by that 60 team. Finally, I'm going to go with the former champion here and a very under-the-radar pick for a value in Joey Logano. Joey Logano, plus 8,000 for the race.
How is that legal? How is that legal?
8,000 for a former champion and longer odds to win the race than Ryan Preece. And his value, he's not quite the cheapest in this section. He's the 2nd cheapest at $7,500 daily fantasy.
Man.
Joey Logano.
That's disrespectful.
It is disrespectful for our fellow paisan at that, I just mentioned when going over Ryan Preece, picked up his 10th top 10. Well, Joey Logano picked up his 6th top 10 this past weekend at Iowa. But you look at his last 5 starts, he's finished top 15 in 4 of those 5 starts, including 11th and 9th at Chicago and Sonoma, respectively. So for a driver and a team with this current car that has not done well at all up until this season on the road courses, they've turned that program around. He's looked a lot speedier as of late. And that one outlier start of those 5 was at Indianapolis where he was leading and he blew a tire. So the speed is very real in this stable. And I want to say on a lesser scale to Christopher Bell, it's like I don't want to miss out when Joey Logano pops off, which will likely be in the playoffs. but it very well could happen right before as well, as they're fine-tuning their processes and their strategies and whatnot for the playoffs. So it could happen this weekend. He's finished top 15 in all 3 next-gen Watkins Glen starts. Very surprising stat there. Finished 3rd here in 2022, 15th last year. So you're looking at a 15th place floor for this team, it looks like, right about now. 6 or more laps led in his last 2 races at the Glen. Laps led in 3 of his last 4 starts at the Glen. And he won here back in 2015, posting a 15.7 average in 15 starts. There's a lot of 15s in that analysis right there between his season average, his Watkins Glen average, and whatnot. So I'm thinking his floor for this weekend is going to be top 15. But Joey Logano, very underrated value pick for the Glen.
Yeah, I mean, that just doesn't feel right. That looks like a typo. Plus 8,000, 7,500 in daily fantasy. Like, that just is not a value you get Joey Logano at. And we always like to say on the show, his wins and his booms kind of come when you least expect them to. And this is one of those weeks where, like, nobody thinks of Joey Logano at a road course. But, man, he's a champion in this sport multiple years. Like, he knows how to get it done any week, any discipline, any circumstance. And I think that's just way too good a value to pass up on. And we'll see how this DFS lineup shapes out. But as you mentioned, a couple of drivers there that, one in Ryan Preece that's had a breakout season and another in Joey Logano that's too good to pass up. I'm going to give you the best of both worlds because I want to talk about a champion of this sport that has not had a good year at all, that is due, that, Father Time is taking on him. And that's Kyle Busch at plus 5,000 for the race win and 7,700 in daily fantasy. He is 73 points back of the playoff cutoff in 18th, and he's coming off a 20th place finish at Iowa. So not only is the clock ticking on Kyle Busch's career, but, man, he's got to come away with a win or something to get himself into the playoffs. And I think when you look at how these next few races line up, Watkins Glen could be his best shot because he, too, is a former race winner here. Twice with an 11.7 average finish in 19 starts at Watkins Glen. And as far as Watkins Glen goes, this year at the road courses, he has top 10s in 3 out of his 4 road course starts and 5th place finishes twice. At Watkins Glen in the next gen, he has a best finish of 14th. So that doesn't exactly bode well. I think that this is a track that Kyle Busch dominated in like the Gen 5, Gen 6 era. Here in this Gen 7 era, hasn't exactly been the case. However, this year, what's been, again, another down year for Kyle Busch in RCR equipment, he's had some of his best results of the season at the road courses. And he's a guy that at times we haven't exactly pinpointed and at the road courses. And we're not going to be caught sleeping this time. Plus 5,000 for the race win, 7,700 in daily fantasy for one of the hungriest and baddest drivers in the field. If he's in there with a late restart in stage 3 and he's in the top 5, he's going to do what needs to be done. And listen, every week I mentioned that the intensity gets ratcheted up going towards the playoffs. So does the desperation. And you got to feel a little bit of desperation for Kyle Busch and the 8 team. And at that value, maybe there's a little bit of volatility baked in because of how far behind they are from the playoff cutoff. However, man, a flyer on a plus 5,000 race winner pick for Kyle Busch, stranger things have happened. And this is a former champion of the sport, again, multiple times, where this is something that is well within his right to do. So I like Kyle Busch as a really good value this week. But then the longest of our values, daily fantasy-wise, is Austin Cindric. He's our cheapest driver at 7,200 in daily fantasy, and he's valued at plus 6,000 by the sports books. Coming off a 12th place finish last week, which marks back-to-back top 15s and back-to-back races with 20 or more laps led. So this team is starting to pick up the pace a little bit. And for Austin Cindric, a lot like the rain I mentioned Chase Briscoe in before, this is a guy that when we were in the Xfinity Series a couple of years ago, and we would go to the road courses, it was like Chase Briscoe would win one week, and then Austin Cindric would win the next week. He was a road course ringer in the Xfinity Series. To be specific, he's a 5-time road course winner in the Xfinity Series, and his first career Xfinity Series win came at Watkins Glen. He has 9 top 10s, including a runner-up finish at road courses in the next-gen car. So very, very high floor, plus a high ceiling with that runner-up finish there in the next-gen era. He does have a best finish of 14th at Watkins Glen, Austin Cindric, which is the same best finish in the next gen as Kyle Busch, both 14th. So Austin Cindric, a guy that is always in the back of my mind when we go to road courses, but I feel there's signs of seeing him kind of heat back up for the playoffs. Like you mentioned a Penske Ford. I'm going to mention a Penske Ford because this is the time of year where they get their shit together. And I think that Austin Cindric is a guy that, based on his career, Watkins Glen at road courses, in the Xfinity Series specifically, he's shown he can get it done at these tracks. And I like Chase Briscoe this week. I like Kyle Busch as two of the best values of the week to go along with your picks of Ryan Preece, Joey Logano for our 4 value picks this week, Cole.
Yeah, I like both your drivers quite a bit, especially Kyle Busch. I mean, in a year that's been very down for him, he's got the 2 top 5s, 3 total top 10s on these disciplines. And yeah, you put it perfectly. It's desperation time. It's crunch time. This is a team that's determined to make the playoffs, and this is by far and away his best shot at making it happen. I don't see him winning it at Richmond. I don't see him winning at Daytona. So this is it for Kyle Busch, in my opinion. In reference to Austin Cindric, very similarly to Chase Briscoe, who you were like relating him to, this is very much performance-based and recency-based because obviously back-to-back top 15s, 20-plus laps led in back-to-back races as well is really, really encouraging. He's also won a race this year. But on the road courses, his best finish in 2025 has been 18th at Mexico City. So, again, it's weird because when he first came into the Cup Series in 2022, we were like, this is a guy that we always think about when we go to the road courses because of his 5 wins in the Xfinity Series. But it hasn't quite translated to the Cup Series just yet. I do think that this is a weekend where we very well could see him emerge as a top 10 candidate, but at a minimum, probably top 15, even though that is his career best finish is 14th at the Glen in the Cup Series.
As we cover some loose change here, Cole, this is where we breezed over some storylines that maybe were forgotten. And I'm going to bring this loose change down to one driver because in this episode, we have mentioned Tyler Reddick, Chris Buescher, Ryan Preece, Kyle Busch, and Ty Gibbs. Those are all the drivers from 14th to 19th in the standings, except for one. There's one driver out of that group of 7 that are on the playoff bubble we have not mentioned, and that is Alex Bowman, who right now enters the week plus 63 up on the cutoff. What are we thinking about Alex Bowman? Because we've given our thoughts on all of the other playoff bubble drivers.
Yes. So I had a very difficult internal debate making this outline because, as I very well stated my confidence in the sleeper section, I was between Ty Gibbs, Chase Briscoe, and Alex Bowman for that final spot. I was pretty locked in on Chris Buescher and Michael McDowell. I do not want listeners to be scared of or shying away from Alex Bowman because what he's done these last few months has been really great. He's a guy that's, again, 15th in points right now, around that bubble, that needs to have a good run to make the playoffs. And he has a great shot to do so. Plus 4,000 for the race win. So great value for that. 7,800 daily fantasy is another one that you should be looking at for your lineups. Finished 7th at Iowa, overcoming a speeding penalty. That was 3 straight top 10s, that 48 bunch. He now has a 7.9 average finish over his last 8 starts. And I think what's important to note here is that he has had a very, like his regular career in the Cup Series, a very underrated career on the road courses as well. He finished 19th at Snow, the last road course race we were at, but he finished top 10 in the 3 other starts this year. 14.2 average in 20 road course starts with his current car, with 1 win coming in Chicago last year. And he has a best finish like Kyle Busch and Austin Cindric, a 14th in the next gen at Watkins Glen, finishing 18th there last year. So I think the deciding edge here was his overall career at Watkins Glen. However, that's not to say that he should not be overlooked or that he should be overlooked this weekend because he has been incredible over the last 8 starts. Like I said, 7.9 average finish. He's had great speed on the road courses. So although he wasn't specifically mentioned by name as a sleeper, definitely include him as a value or sleeper this weekend. But I also wanted to add my own loose change here, Stephen. So we kicked off the show, obviously naming the top 5 shortest odds for the race win. And number 2, right behind SVG, is Connor Zilisch. I saw those numbers, I saw the name, and I guessed. I was stunned seeing this 19-year-old driver's name, a guy making his 4th Cup Series start, at the second shortest in odds for the race win.
That's crazy.
I have my numbers here. I have my thoughts, but do you have any thoughts on Connor Zilisch for the race win this weekend at the Glen?
I just think the value is way too steep. And I know I said there's a little drop off there from SVG to Connor Zilisch from going from 125 to plus 550. But man, for the fourth career start, listen, like we saw SVG win in his first start. So if anyone's going to do it, sure, Connor Zilisch. And it feels like he has been heating up in the Xfinity series, but it's just too risky to bite on for me. Like there's so many good values this week and experienced drivers, and we've given so many good reasons to pick them to where I'm just not looking at Connor Zilisch as one of the best bets this week. But if there's anyone to stun the world, of course it would be him.
Yes. I like what you said there. It looks like he's catching fire. No, buddy. Connor Zilisch is engulfed in flames. He is literally, he should be ash right now.
Yeah.
His numbers right now in the Xfinity series, Steven, over his last 9 races, nine races, he has 4 wins, 3 runner-ups. So 7 races where he's finished first or second, a lowest finish of 5th, and a 2.6 average finish. That's 9 starts, 9 consecutive races.
I mean, he's basically Alex Palou.
That's all. Exactly. That's all that has to be said there. Again, I'm not going to say he's going to go out there and get the race win, but I think there is a conversation to be had about what I said earlier in parlaying maybe SVG in the Cup Series and Connor Zilisch in the Xfinity Series, even though McDowell and SVG are running the Xfinity Series race. But again, like you said, stranger things have happened. SVG won his first start, so you never know.
I'm not going to say he's going to win the race, but I'm not going to say he's not going to win the race. Let me put it that way. Like if he wins the race, I will not be caught surprised.
I agree. Also, I want to give a shout out to Kenny Sargent, the boss man. Kenny, Godzilla is his nickname for Connor.
I love that.
I love
fantastic.
It. And I was like, that's it. That's
funny. I was just thinking before you said that he needs a nickname, and that just feels so perfect.
Godzilla.
Or in this case, Burning Godzilla, because he's burning fire. Burning Godzilla.
There it is.
He has to earn that nickname, maybe by winning this week at Watkins Glen.
Yep. You heard
We're running pretty short on time here, Cole. So let's breeze through our big money bets this week. These are our favorite prop bets, which, by the way, we nailed last week. We nailed 5 out of 6 prop bets. We successfully predicted Alex Bowman and Brad Keselowski in the top 10. We also predicted Brad Keselowski better than 12.5, Ryan Preece better than 14.5, and Alex Bowman better than 14.5. Our only dud was Denny Hamlin in the top 5, which obviously, again, was a little bit of a fluke. So, having gone 5 out of 6 last week and looking at all the value this week, there's so many things we could say. But what do you say this week?
I say the most value in the field is going to be in your top 5, top 10 props. Seeing as the margin between SVG and Connor Zilisch and the third and below ranking in race winner odds, it presents very opportune payouts for those finisher props in the top 5 and top 10 range. The 2 that jumped out to me for top 5s, Chase Elliott plus 200, Tyler Reddick plus 250. Not much else that needs to be said as far as their pedigree on these road courses and their potential to not only win but obviously finish top 5. And then for top 10 props, I like Ty Gibbs plus 110 and Alex Bowman plus 130. Probably Bowman on a lesser scale, just given what I said during our loose change. But I think Ty Gibbs, he's been one of the best cars and worthiest opponents to SVG with this in 2025 on the road courses. So definitely those 3 top 5s for Elliott and Reddick, and then top 10 for Gibbs, but also maybe a little sprinkle for Bowman and for a top 10. As far as over, under, better, worst finishes, give me Chris Buescher better than 9th. Give me Ty Gibbs better than 9.5. And give me Alex Bowman better than 12.5. Head-to-head parlays, I don't think there's a ton of value here. I think SVG over Larson is easy money. William Byron over Ross Chastain should be easy money as well. If you wanted to parlay those with the better, worst props, you can do that by all means. Again, I just really feel that the most value is in the finisher props for big money bets in the top 5s and top 10 range for this weekend.
Yeah, this is one of those weeks, too, where like when you're starting with the race winner at plus 125, the other values are so much better than like the prop bets like a head-to-head parlay. So I think you hit it all right on the head there. Looking at our daily fantasy recommended lineup, with all the value this week, you could basically build this lineup however you want. But the way we have this constructed is honestly very balanced. So we went with Chase Elliott and Chris Buescher as our two most expensive drivers at $9,100 and $9,000. Then we went with Michael McDowell at $8,400, Alex Bowman at $7,800, and rounded out the lineup with Kyle Busch at $7,700 and Joey Logano at $7,500. So this is a lineup that includes three former champions, multi-time champions, and then a couple guys on that playoff bubble, three guys in that playoff bubble, Chris Buescher and Alex Bowman, along with one road course ringer and Michael McDowell. So this is a week where you can kind of optimize the lineup however you want, but I feel like this is one of our more balanced lineups we put out the entire season.
Oh, without a doubt. Anytime you can have two former champions back ending this thing, it's pretty impressive, honestly. Yeah, you've got two guys, two former champions in Logano and Busch. Busch, who needs a win to make the playoffs. You've got Alex Bowman and Michael McDowell in the middle of this lineup. Bowman, who has been on a great stretch, again, 7.9 average finish over his last 8 starts. A guy that needs to have a good points day to make the playoffs on points. And then Michael McDowell, a guy who is a road course ringer, who's had speed, who's led laps, who's won races at this level on these disciplines, and who's done very well at Watkins Glen. Also in need of a win in the middle of this lineup. And you got last year's winner in Chris Buescher and another 2-time winner at Watkins Glen in Chase Elliott to be your ace. I see no flaws here. Bottom line.
I completely agree. Now, we started doing something new a few weeks ago. Our producer, Cody Johnson, recommended this, and it's a great idea. And that is making a budget, $50 budget every week, and telling you what we would do with $50 if we had it, hypothetically. Last week, part of our $50 budget included an Alex Bowman top 10. $15 wins you $35 back. So that was our bet that won from the $50 budget last week. Looking ahead to this week, Cole, I really, really have your idea stuck in my head of parlaying an SVG Cup Series win and a Connor Zilisch Xfinity Series win for $10. And that was the one where I think it was plus 398. So I can't think off the top of my head what that would be worth. But $10 on that, probably going to make you very close to your $50 budget back right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you want to take this a different direction, but I know SVG is the heavy favorite, but man, I don't care. I think if you throw half of that $50 budget on SVG to win, $25 on him, it still feels like the smart thing to do for me, because if you get that, you're instantly making your budget back just by him winning the race. And then you talk about the possibility of Connor Zilisch also winning the Xfinity race. I'm using $35 of the budget for that. So that gives you 15 more to use here.
Yeah, I actually completely agree. I think one way or another, whether you want to parlay an SVG weekend sweep or an SVG Cup win with the Connor Zilisch Xfinity Series win, that has got to be part of your budget, because there's no way in hell that one or both those drivers is not going to win one of those races. So pick your poison there. You really can't go wrong. For all intensive purposes, I'll take the SVG and Zilisch parlay there for the race wins. I think part of me wants to give the love around, spread the love around before putting $25 on SVG to win the Cup race. While it does seem very likely, and all signs point to that, it's not lost on me that there is a lot of really good value in the field, especially in the top 5 range for guys like Chase Elliott and Tyler Reddick. With the fear of running too long here, we'll keep the $25 for SVG's win. But my other one that I would throw in there would be either Chase Elliott or Tyler Reddick to finish top 5 at $15. Again, Chase Elliott's plus 200, Tyler Reddick's plus 250. Those are both insane values for top 5s for two of the best road course racers in the sport. So if it was me, I'd probably do $15 on both those props. But if I had to pick one for our show right now, I'll probably go with Chase Elliott for a top 5 at $15.
Yeah, that's very solid. Chase Elliott, $15 to finish in the top 5. $10 parlayed on SVG to win the Cup race and Connor Zilisch, God Zilisch, to win the Xfinity race. And then $25 on just SVG to win the Cup race. Again, there is a lot of ways we could have taken that, but I think that's a pretty simple way to put a lot of your chips into the SVG basket and also bank on Chase Elliott if that doesn't go our way. So let's kick it off here with our race winner and sleeper picks, Cole. Before we drop the jack, we do this every week. I don't remember who picked first last week. Again, I've been forgetting every week now. Do you remember?
I mean,
Let's see.
I
Let's
honestly forgot who I picked. I picked Larson. I think it must have been me.
Okay. Well, okay. So I think you're
Either
right.
way, just take it.
Okay. I'm picking SVG.
I'm
Wrong
assuming
with it.
no other analysis to that
Yeah.
as well,
I'm
right?
not saying anything other than that. I'm picking SVG.
There's no point. There really
No.
is no point to it.
No. Mic drop.
Yeah, I'll go Chase Elliott. You know, I feel good about the 9 team this week. Two-time winner here. Still seeking his first Gen 7 win on a road course, and it's going to come this weekend, assuming SVG does not get to victory lane, which is very unlikely. So I'll take the L on that one most likely, but Chase Elliott's the next man up.
All
For a
right.
sleeper, we can go a lot of different ways with this. But, you know, I'm going to go with Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman's odds this weekend are ridiculous. For the second straight week, he's like plus 4,000. I don't know why the odds makers are valuing him so low, but he's been a very underrated driver in his entire Cup career, a very underrated driver in his road course racing career as well. So let's go with a double Hendrick tandem here in Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman.
Yeah. Anytime you can get a Hendrick Chevy as a sleeper for that kind of a value, or dark horse pick in this instance, I think that you got to take it and run with it. And I could say the same thing about Team Penske. I'm going to go with Austin Cindric for my sleeper. Just too many good results in road courses in his entire career and his entire life to ignore. So give me Austin Cindric as my sleeper. SVG is my very, very obvious race winner. So, Cole, as we go to Watkins Glen, this is, again, crunch time for the playoffs. You got Watkins Glen, you got Richmond, you got Daytona, and then you got the playoffs. So there is a lot on the line this week. We get one track in each medium, a road course, kind of a flat short track, and then a super speedway. If you're a road course ringer, like a Michael McDowell or one of the guys that we mentioned, this is it, man. This is the week to do it. AJ Allmendinger, we didn't mention him either, but man, this is your shot to go out there and win your way into the playoffs if road courses are your specialty. Final thoughts? That's kind of mine.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing how this thing plays out. It's very possible that we could see 3 different winners once again with the way these 3 races are going to shape out. You got obviously a road course race, which is anybody's game. Maybe speaking very loosely, if SPG is somehow taken out.
Yep.
You've got a strategy heavy race in Richmond, and then anything happen at Daytona. So, other than that, I just wish I was going to be at this race. One of my favorite tracks to visit on the circuit. And I think it's, in my opinion, the best road course on the circuit as well. High speeds, just very scenic. A lot of history embedded in this track in NASCAR's history. So, looking forward to it. I think we're going to see a different winner this weekend. It's not going to be SVG. I firmly believe that.
All right.
I'm going to look like an asshole for saying that, but I'll take it.
Yeah. Watkins Glen always reminds me of like the end of summer. It's such a classic first week of August race. Like when we were growing up, going to school in Arizona, this was like the first sign that school was almost back. That's kind of like August is like the Sunday of the summer, and Watkins Glen is like the Sunday of NASCAR races as it pertains to like the work week or going back to school. But I do love this track. Like it's always been one that's been connected with like August for me, but it's always been a track that's been so entertaining. So this is the Go Bowling at the Glen 350, otherwise known as on this podcast, the Go Coaling at the Glen 350. So we're going to drop the jack. Thank you all so much, as always, for tuning in to a little bit of an extended edition of the Money Stop. There was just so much value. We had to give you a 13th man and talk about Alex Bowman this week and so much more. So we'll drop the jack. Follow us on social media at _Money Stop for the late breaking storylines. We always do these episodes in the middle of the week when the sports books first open because, hey, there might be some value you need to get before they adjust, before the cars hit the track. But there's always going to be things that we see on the track, whether it's qualifying or practice or late breaking penalties, storylines, whatever it might be, what happens in the Xfinity race that change our minds on certain things. So this is what we have to say on usually Wednesday or Thursday when we record these, and you hear it on Friday. So that'll do it for us. For all of us Speed Freaks, please follow along, watch the post-race show, watch the Horsepower Hump Day, Money Stop Mafia. Thank you all so much. For Cole, I'm Steven. We'll see you guys next time.